Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Nice. Like, everyone can hear me okay now?
Yep. Yeah, coming in loud and clear.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Yeah. So I was thinking a good format to go through is just to make sure that we're able to kind of tackle and all types of questions, because we've got a few questions that were asked before the AMA. Most people probably wanted to raise their hand, and then we'll have people asking questions in the flight deck chat. Just alternate between each one. So we could start with one of the pre-AMA questions, and then if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question, we can let them up and ask that, and then go to the flight deck chat, and then if there's ever a lull, we can go to the pre-AMA questions that were asked before.
Yeah, sounds good. Before we start, I wanted to say thank you to everyone. I think it's like no big secret that I've been like very unwell, like the past like month and a half, and I always see people asking like, how's Nifty doing? Is Nifty okay? Like, what can we do to help? That kind of things, and that is a really big source of support for me personally. And I think one thing that people have definitely noticed is that I've been relatively absent because of my health issues, and the communication hasn't been great. The general sentiment I'm seeing over and over, which is definitely true. I think because of my health issues, I haven't been able to prioritize SpacePoggers as much in my life right now. And I think probably a lot of sort of the questions that we'll be getting today sort of based around that concern. And so I know a lot of the questions will sort of be more around like, hey, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? But I guess like before we go into that stuff, I just wanted to say really thank you to a lot of the people that are here today, and that I really appreciate your support.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can start with one of the kind of before the AMA questions. I've condensed a lot of them down into, because there was a lot of repetition between them. So if any of it got missed, feel free to throw questions into the flight deck chat. But that way we don't repeat a bunch of questions or have this go, so we don't have this go on for like 2 or 3 hours. I've tried to condense them down a little bit so that we can tackle them a little more concisely and get everyone's questions answered. So the first one on the list I have would be an update on charities, where we're at with charity donations, what the current plan is, especially since with changes with how the website gamification is going to work and things like that. Since I was tied in so integrally to the charity, where we stand there has been a question that's come up a few times.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. Let's just go through like all of the updates on like each front, as you said, and then we can take any like individual questions if they're left after. Like the first thing is like obviously like working a rug fell through, which is really disappointing. We had made large investments in the rug team early on, and they had promised to deliver a certain gamified experience, a certain trade integration, etc., and they're simply unable to deliver on it. They refused to commit to any deadlines, and they simply just kept pushing back and back and back, and that at some point became, oh, maybe we'll have this out by 2022. And like after producing no results, and it was just really disappointing for me, and at that point you're like, okay, this can't go on. I think the most disappointing thing was that, especially in terms of the marketing, like the idea or like where I would have wanted things to go is that for us to focus on animations and creating character story building, engagement with the community and such, and then they would be doing the marketing, and they just completely did not deliver on that. But regardless, with the charity donations, we're gonna go through all the charity donations that we had planned on. Regardless, we can't. It'll be difficult to directly partner with these charities and do fiat payments based on how things have gone, but I think we definitely want to go through the giving block, and we're going to be donating a minimum of $100,000 to charity. And then what was the sort of the next topic that you had in mind?
Next up would be, well, I think it would tie in pretty well. I know Bowser asked, one second, let me find the specific one. So I know you touched on it a little bit, but what the what a little more precisely the deliverables from Rug's team was expected, and then like how that fell through. Because I know you touched on that a little bit in what you just said, but since that was a specific question that people have asked, I think people just want to know a little bit more about like how that panned out.
Yeah, I mean, like the gamified websites partnering with charities for each thing. They're supposed to do marketing, take over social, which Roger has done a fantastic job of, keeping on in that aspect, regardless of how things happened. I think, yeah, it's mostly along those lines. And of course, like they committed to merge, and so we're still going to move forward with merge. But like there is some like big stuff there that just completely fell through.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me go to the flight deck chat. Oh shoot! All right, let me ask one of the pre ones and then go through them because we've got some very large questions in the flight deck chat. So the next question was the next thing that has been brought up a bit in where I think people would like an update would be on the animation. So like how many people are how the animation team has been contracted, whether or not it's a bunch of individual freelance contracts or if it's contracting an entire team under an LLC. Whether and additionally, you mentioned earlier in a previous conversation that there were some missed deliverables from them. If there's any action being taken on our part in order to kind of overcome that, and where generally the animation is at.
No, the missed deliverables were mostly on Rug's part. There weren't any missed deliverables in terms of the animation. I think so. One of the guys that we were really interested in working with, which is working like really big media company, that whole like contract negotiation on due diligence on like their HRs and went on for like months, which fell through. But we're still progressing on animations in the meantime. Like the same team that did the trailers, which have some fantastic background experiences. We're going to be moving forward with them as well for the next production and bring on more people on the team. It's going to have like 2 producers, 1 editor, 1 sound editor, animator, and then Nate doing the art and more artists to support if needed. And so we're building out a pretty substantial team on the animation end, which will be like the majority of our investments on the SpacePogger front there.
So going to the flight deck chat, this one ties in pretty well to another question that comes up a little bit later. But so with things with Rug following through, where are we currently at in terms of like the marketing plan? Obviously, without Rug being the marketing team for it, either we're back to zero or we're going to be moving in a different direction, and where we stand on that and what the next steps are in terms of marketing and pushing outwards into a wider audience.
Yeah, I think I might have touched on this a bit before, but like I think where I want us to head is sort of taking the community along for the animation experience. One of the reasons we're building out our animation team so large is like so we can have like bits of production before the whole animation is released, so we can share storyboards, so we can share marketing stuff on that end. And so part of the animation team will be focused completely on sort of creating those assets and sort of creative material based around the marketing front. I think like a lot of the marketing that I see on Twitter and a large part of the reason why people are kind of so sick of it at this point is like it's kind of distasteful. You just like show whatever your token is for like the billionth time is not very interesting. And so I think when people think of marketing, they think of like something along those lines or some trying to start some social media trend and such. But like I think if you spam people with the same material message over and over, it doesn't do much. But I think that the sort of assets that we're going to be working with the animation team will be very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Definitely. So then the next one is where currently things with the black hole stand. There have been some community ideas of where it can go. I know it's been a topic that's been discussed a few times of whether or not the black hole is the most effective use of funds, whether or not changes in the direction of that are in the works, and whether or not and then the specific questions have been more geared towards whether or not we as a team have been specifically looking into and considering the idea that has been pitched by Mama Bucks and Pix. Pixel Gengar, sorry.
Yeah. So in reference to like the actual black hole usage, I think one thing that people don't understand is like the ROI on it is so bad that using it will simply bring on like the accelerated end of the project, and I don't think anyone wants that. The only way like it would benefit or quote benefit anyone is like, oh, it raises the floor price in some artificial way, and then you can like pass on your poggers to someone else, and then oh, I got it, but someone else has to hold the bag. That's like really the only like short-term benefit that I see. I've loved some of the creative ideas coming out of the community for how the black hole usage can be changed, but like at the end of the day, like none of it really makes a ton of sense. For example, like sending X amount of poggers to the black hole, especially with how gas prices are these days, is going to cost not only like the price of the token itself, like given at the floor price, but like given the gas price, it's going to cost each person at least like $300-$500, right? In terms of USD. And then on top of that, you have Nate creating the art or doing whatever is required there. It's just not really feasible. Like, especially if you do that, then the animation gets delayed. And definitely we just like, if there is a way to make it work, it would be fantastic. But I think for now, like I've heard no sort of ideas or things there that make sense. So I think that's just the sort of how I see things.
Yeah. So the next one from the flight deck chat, and then this one ties into another one, was how much money was spent hiring Rug in the 2-month period for the project? That was one that's come up a few times.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to disclose that, but they're a pretty substantial investment.
And then the next one is, when can people expect the updated roadmap for the project? I know we were talking about that just before you went in for surgery, and then that's kind of fallen aside a little bit, and then so just kind of when we expect to have an updated roadmap up and out for everyone.
Outside of like what the sort of things I've described, like that sort of is the roadmap. If you try to project like multiple years out in the future, it completely relies on like how like the next few months go, right? If we do all of these things, I mean, even now we're like at net negative most months in terms of like money we're spending versus like getting. And so if we do the things we're doing and using the black hole like the way that people want us to, then that's kind of like the entire roadmap. And more after that would be, doing more of the marketing and animation standpoint, trying to build our story, tell our story like the way we wanted it to. But I think if people are expecting some fantastic hidden thing that hasn't already been talked about before, to be completely transparent, like that doesn't really exist.
Yeah. Then the next one, so a little bit away from like specific deliverables. How do you honestly feel about the 3-month progress of SpacePoggers? And then is this where you personally expected us to be, comparing it to other projects that launched at the same time, things like that?
No, absolutely not. Like, I think we've had so many unfortunate setbacks, not just with like me and my health, but like with other team members leaving because they weren't contributing the way we wanted them to. Um, making a big bet on Rug in their early days and not panning out, and just definitely, and like the way that sort of like NFT ecosystem as a whole has gone, like I can definitely see like this is not where I envisioned this not even close.
And then next, one question that's come up on a few different occasions would be the team size. So how many people are a part of the team, both in regards to like the core team and additionally people like animators, and if there are plans or anything in the future for like team expansion and where that would happen and how that would look.
In terms of like core team, I'm assuming it means like people who are consistently engaged with their project, not just like in like a one-off sense. So I would say that, I would say that's obviously like me, Roger, Nate, and sort of the animation team that we're building. I would say like there's probably like 3 people there that are maybe consistently engaging with us and creating the marketing stuff. We're still working with Agent L from Rug to do the merch, and that's been really fantastic working with her. That's more of on a contract basis. So I would say that's everyone, about 6 people.
Then next, one thing was mentioned in the past is Coinbase is hard to get a hold of. Since then, has there been any progress on understanding how getting on like the Coinbase marketplace would work, or any movement there, or with other platforms like Nifty Gateway and such?
No, it's been pretty disappointing. I think I've reached out to them like 6 times at this point. Both Coinbase and Nifty Gateway.
Then, so onto just a slightly different topic going into like the pre-question ones. So in terms of communication, that's one thing that you touched on at the beginning in terms of something that's been something that people have had problems with and has been an issue. Just in terms of like increasing that, what steps you're kind of expecting and seeing in the future for kind of increasing communication with everyone.
I definitely want to do this like weekly. I wanna do this like, I think I should be posting weekly and then doing some sort of talk weekly. Like, and to be completely transparent, I've just been like so unwell that it's been like I for some of even like my friends and family members and other people like that, they're like, yo, is this guy still alive? So it's like it's definitely not just like, oh, I'm only deprioritizing SpacePoggers. It's like I'm struggling to be like a human being right now. But I think I'm gonna try to put my best foot forward and do the best I can. But I think at the very least, like a weekly thing would be good.
Definitely. And then another question from you from a financial perspective, with Pogger sales and volume down, without a significant boost of interest that will allow us to reposition ourselves in the market, how long can the project still run?
Without the black hole, probably 2-3 months. With the black hole, probably 1 to 2 months.
And then, you just talked about doing a more regular thing, so like a regular AMA session or something like this every week. And then along with that, there's been a lot of talk from the community about increasing updates, making whether or not there'd be more posting in like the captain's log or things like that, and if there's any plans in that direction as well, just to keep people more up to date on the kind of day-to-day or week-to-week updates with the project, like the animation and other things.
No, definitely. I think that's really important.
Then lastly, Yu's last question is, with NFT NYC, would have been a pretty massive opportunity for marketing or doing drops tied in with that, and whether or not just the amount of effort we were able to put into NFT NYC was the best that we could do at the time, or if there's more we could have done.
I mean, definitely, but I was like almost completely like incapacitated at that point. I did see like some really cool pictures of Nate meeting up with Poggers holders though, which is really cool to see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think like I know people have been disappointed, but like I hope people don't think that like sort of like the stuff they've been seeing is like our ideal thing. Like, oh, we're so long term, we don't care about this stuff. Like that's not it, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely don't
And
leave the saying to me.
then, and then one question from Lil Robot was just wondering if there are any plans to bring on another marketing team to keep the community growing.
I mean, it's a gamble. We've already allocated funds to certain projects we're working on. If the animation works, if people rally behind that and we start seeing stuff, then we can have more confidence. But if you do that and it doesn't work, then it just expedites time, in my opinion.
Yeah. So then the next one is from Pulpara. Why do you think Gary Vee never bought a Pogo?
Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he's a busy guy. You know, I can't speculate on what went through his mind.
So this is a follow-up question about the black hole from Papa Bucks. I understand the intricacies and issues with gas and the black hole, but is the plan to continue the black hole, but just in a way that makes sense for the project, or for it to just kind of be stopped entirely?
I feel like I've sort of laid out my point of view on the black hole already there. I think the only additional thing that I'll be able to add is like, it would be nice to find a way to continue using it that makes sense for the project.
Then from Baxendale, I know you touched on. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from Baxendale, are you planning on expanding the team? I know you touched on this a little bit, especially in regards to the animation team. I think Baxendale is more referring to like the kind of core team, so separate from the animation team.
I'm really not sure what else we could do that makes sense right now.
And then his next question is, how many hours are you putting into Poggers on a weekly basis? And then are you balancing any other projects too?
Nothing. No other like NFT like crypto related projects. Like I would say like I advise, but even that's been like so limited with my time. I'm putting as much time as I can. Like building out like I don't know what people's perception of like creating like a production is, but like just doing all of the coordination, hiring, and then building out the team and the story and the animation, and it's like a huge lift for I think someone who's even fully functioning. And we're either coordinating merch stuff, which happens from time to time, or that. And then any other sort of energy or time that I have would be spent into interacting with the community. Like I think I dropped in like last week to Mama Buck's thing of the Pogger Mingle, and that was pretty fun. And then cookies, of course. And I know people have asked a lot of questions about that, but honestly, like it feels like feels like you're struggling to get by, like having to like sit down for several hours and trying to draw cookies can be a hard thing to do. But we've been trying to chug along there too. Hope people enjoyed like some like the Halloween cookies that they've received.
So then Papa Bucks asks, so a follow-up to Yu's financial question. I know we're focused on the long term, but if we only have funds to run 2 to 3 months without the black hole, how is the project sustained long term? Is it solely secondary sales? What else is there, and how can the community help?
Yes. Everyone on the team is on the same page there, on the animation team. Like, we're getting this out 2021. Even if you have to cut the scope of the animation or whatever. It would be, I think, pretty unacceptable to me to take any longer than that. So we're targeting like before Christmas in December.
And then, okay, yeah, and then I think you kind of covered that a little bit earlier with about Papa Buck's next follow-up question about more weekly things like AMAs and community events and stuff, and the desire to have more of those happening. Then Vegan Cheese asks, have you thought to collab with any other popular projects?
Honest, that's like the last thing on my mind right now. I really haven't seen any of those pan out particularly well. And if popular project means like collaborating with like BOIC Cool Cats, like I highly doubt that happens.
Then the next question from Crypto Thuggin. This one might be a little bit more geared towards Nate. Can we get Christmas add-ons for our poggers like we did for Halloween?
Ooh, possibly. I'm not sure what the Christmas add-ons would be, but open suggestions.
Yeah, that's all Nate's game.
Yeah, so yeah, ping me in Discord if you have particular ideas. But yeah, I'm up for it.
Then the next question from Pulpara is, why are we giving out money for community actions? I believe in regards to the community grant program, if we only have money for 3 months.
Well, the community has been continuously asking what can we do to help, like what are like, and people have wanted sort of autonomy on like doing things and rallying around things from within the community. And so with this limited size grant for like our first run, it's like a test run to see if this is like a worthwhile thing. And if the community is continuing asking like what can we do to help, like I don't expect people to like help or like do stuff for free, right? So it makes sense to pay the people who are working on, you know, pushing poggers forward in some way. And so, you know, paying people who do work is in general a good thing. But secondly, like if people like don't want the grant to happen, they're free to vote for it. But despite the option for like not granting anything, there's overwhelming support from within the core community of supporting certain projects. And so I would say it's like a fairly democratic thing.
Yeah. Pashka asks, in regards to the animation, is it going to be a pilot episode, a whole series, or something in between? For the 2021 launch.
Sorry, I think you cut out for a second for me.
Oh, sorry. Pashka was asking for the animation, is it going to be just a pilot episode, or a full season?
Oh, no, definitely not a full season. It's more of a pilot.
Then Vegan Cheese asks, how are you going to market the animation once it is ready?
I think you've already covered that question. Mama Box is saying that things needs to be opened up. I'm typing notes. None of these are really answers. They are side steps. It's not my intention to avoid any questions, and so I'd love to have people up to ask their questions directly and, you know, ask further.
So Papa Bucks asks a more specific one. Are ongoing funds solely from secondary, and how long will the pilot be?
Besides secondary, I've invested about 150K of my own funds to keep the project going. But other than that, it's from secondary, yes. I mean, we're going to do a merge drop, but the merge will be done at a loss. If we didn't do it at a loss, it would be completely unreasonable for anyone to buy the items that we're selling. And so that's going to be done at a loss. And so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that was the question a lot of people were wondering in terms of the finances end of whether or not it was coming from secondary sales or other areas. And then in terms of,
I was gonna say I'm not shy about answering these type of questions, and I don't want to be perceived as like I'm trying to like avoid answering questions. So like please like feel free to like invite people up.
so you asks, let's assume the animation is ready. How do we market it, and how much funds are we planning to have by that time in order to market it?
So in reference to what I sort of discussed before, like we're gonna have bits of content relating to the animation and teasers out before the actual animation full production occurs. And then once the full production is released, then we're, standard stuff on Twitter and YouTube. Like, I think when people talk about marketing like an NFT project, it's like you don't market like the tokens themselves. You market like what the community is doing and like what sort of things are coming out of like this project. And so the sort of bits of micro content, the content themselves is the marketing.
Vegan Cheese asks, how do we reach new people? So as opposed to just getting the kind of current circles that we're already in.
I mean, if the animation and story sucks, right, then obviously only people who care about the community will care about it. But if it's good, then like regardless of whether it's even an NFT project or whether they're part of the community, then people will be interested. Like we're not selling the animation. Like the animation is the marketing, and right, the animation is the marketing for the community and the project. It's not like we have to market the animation.
And then Mama Bucks raised her hand to speak. And then if you wanna ask a question.
Hey, I'm actually going to do it from Papa's account because we're listening from his phone. So Nifty, number one, I just want to say that we're glad that you're here. We can tell that you're not feeling well, so we do appreciate your time. What I shared in the Discord was not meant to be an insult, but as I'm typing notes, I'm noticing that some of these questions have multiple layers to it, and we're only kind of getting the first response and not the follow-up questions that are a part of it. So that's really kind of what I meant there. I think too, we're also, while you're giving us answers, like we're saying, what is the next step of this? Or that's what I think we're asking for. Instead of saying, well, we only have 2 to 3 months if we run the black hole or without the black hole. That is information that we are grateful to have. It's a little bit scary, but then we want to know what's being done about that. We want to know what the action steps are and how we're going to beat that and not run out of funds in 2 to 3 months. So for me, I just feel like I don't know how to properly say this. My brain hasn't been working well the last couple days. How do we remedy these issues? We are asking, is there going to be any more team members added? And the answer is no. We're asking that question because we have seen a lack of involvement, and we do understand that with your surgery and recovery, and I understand that more than anybody, that it's been hard, but we're asking those questions because we see a need for it. And so I think maybe the delay or the lack of feeling like we're not getting answers is because we're not getting the follow-up of how are we going to remedy this and how are we going to move forward. I hope that I was cohesive.
No, I think I think that's very well put, and I think I'm understanding better what you're saying. I think it's a difference in perspective. So when people ask, like, how can we bring more team members on? Like, my response to that would be, okay, so if we're bringing 6 people in on the animation end, which is sort of like the core value proposition of the project and what we're sort of trying to do here, what else can we do is, I think, what the community is trying to ask. And the answer to what else can we do is, like, besides, like, the usual things of what people do for projects in terms of, like, trying to start a social media trend, posting on Twitter and Discord. There are not many like critical roles like that would be open for people to do right now that would have a good return, right? Like right now we're in a position where we're trying to be as lean as possible, and yet we're sort of, you know, committing these resources for the animation to happen. And outside of that, I just don't really have a good answer for what else makes sense for us right now. And in terms of like what can we do to fight what's happening, right? Like we've leaned on the team as much as possible. We're trying to deliver the animation as fast as possible. We'll have marketing around the animation, or rather the animations are the marketing themselves, and we're doing all that we can there. I think the sort of when people see how cool like the merch is, I think that'll be sort of like a marketing pop in itself. But outside of that, like it's kind of like how I feel when I'm asked these sorts of questions is like, especially in terms of marketing, right? So say like that's sort of like the marketing things you have planned. It's like what more can we do, right? So it's like sort of like asking a restaurant like, the restaurant is failing. What can we do about the restaurant? Well, we have to try to sell more food, right? What can we do to sell more food? Well, we have all these sort of marketing things planned to try to improve the food, but that would mean like right now for us like we need to like improve the token somehow. But like to that end, we have very limited amount of moves that we can make, and I think what the team is trying to do is make the best moves that we can. But if people disagree, then I'm really not trying to be stubborn. I'm very open to any suggestions there. But I do think we've made the best moves that we can.
Thank you. I think, and maybe this needs to go to a community vote, but hearing that you have put in your own money and that merch is being done at a loss, I think we all would rather this project survive than to have merch. And that's my stance. I don't want to see this project close in 2 to 3 months because we decided to do merch. And so I think that is something, and I understand that money has gone into that to Agent L, and that's the contract we're on. Maybe that can just be delayed, but I think we need to make sure that our tokens in this project are going to be around long enough that we want to wear the merch. And so like with some of these questions, and I understand that you're making these decisions, and I can't imagine the stress that puts you under, especially when not feeling well. But things like the black hole, when we asked again, you had said, well, I think I've already answered that. You didn't tell us whether you were continuing with the black hole. You said, right now, you know, it doesn't make sense to do like the 3-to-1 burn ratio. And if we use it, we might want to. So what is that decision? Is the decision that right now it's on hold? Or is the decision that it's over? Or that we have to reassess where we are?
Okay, so let's. I think people have certain ideas of the black hole, so let's go over some of the math, right? So say we spent 1 ETH, like 5K or less on the black hole, and that's being very generous. That means we used closer to 0.5 ETH. Realistically, most of the time when we're spending 1 ETH on the black hole because of gas fees, it's closer to 2 ETH. So that means we're spending 10K in terms of US dollars on the black hole. Now, for that to be worth it for the project, for it to raise the floor price and for people to buy in and for it to be worth it for the project, right? At a royalty rate of 5%, we need to do 200K US dollars in volume of additional people buying in from the activation of the black hole for it to make sense for us to continue to do it from a project perspective. We are nowhere even close to getting 200K of volume each time the black hole activation occurs. It's even far less than half. And so that's the sort of math that's occurring there. And you know, if there's a way for us to use this mechanism in a way that makes sense, that would be great. But it's just like the math just doesn't work out there, right?
So is what you're saying that the black hole cannot continue right now? I guess we're looking for kind of a concrete answer. I don't think we understood the math to begin with, but now we understand the math and it doesn't make sense. And again, we'd rather this project succeed. So what is the decision that's been made?
I'm willing to put it up to a community vote, but I think for me personally, it does not make sense to continue usage of the black hole.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
I appreciate your questions.
And I know it's hard, and I don't discount that, and I don't think anybody in the community discounts how hard of a decision that is. But we're here because we believed in you. That's what we can do. It's because we believe in this and we want it to succeed for a lot of different reasons, because of the community, because of our financial involvement. So I think what we're just looking for is more concrete answers. Instead of saying, yeah, I think that having a weekly AMA is a good idea, we're looking for every Tuesday in some form or fashion, we are going to have a get together, and I will be posting twice a week updates in Captain's Log. And I know that's hard with you not feeling well right now, but I think what my feel is from being in the community every day, thanks Roger for keeping me company, is that we're looking for just like a little bit more concrete after a period of a lot of and lack of communication. So thank you for continuing moving forward to be a bit more steady and firm in your answers.
Yeah, thank you, Mama.
Then the next question from Bowser's daddy is, Nifty, it seems you were previously against raising floor price. Are you still against this? It's not necessarily a bad thing, and a lot of people are basically telling you that volume needs to be picked up or else project is gone. Doesn't matter about animation or not. You are somewhat putting us in a do-or-die situation for the animation, and it's unsettling to be so aggressive and brash in this pursuit without consideration to us and the consequences and preserving the token value.
I don't think it's true that I was against raising floor prices. Like, we had a delist thing for Nifty cookies, and then we've activated the black hole on several occasions. But it was clear that the black hole usage doesn't make sense for whatever reasons, and Nifty cookies happened, or is happening, I should say.
Then another one. So I'm going to try to tackle the question from Blaze in parts, because it's a bit long. It's a bit long, and I think it would get a bit muddled if I read off the whole thing at once.
Wait,
so
sorry, Roger. I want to answer the second part of what Bowser said. So you said, you're somewhat putting us in a do-or-die situation for the animation, and it's unsettling to be so aggressive and brash in its pursuit without consideration to us and the consequences in preserving the token value. So I think we've made a lot of difficult decisions that we think are the best for the community and preserving token value or whatever. And so I think getting more perspective or hearing it directly from Bowser would be helpful, because it's absolutely not my intention just to like burn the project down for some idealistic goal I have for telling the story. I think all of the decisions I've made are because I think it's like for the best. And if you disagree and you don't think that's correct, then I want to know, and I want to hear what people think about that.
Yeah, I'll give a moment to put that in, because it'll take a second to be put down in words in the chat. But one big question was from Blaze. I'm going to try to chop it up into segments, just because doing it all at once might be a bit much. So the first part of his question has a lot to do with communication, and how that is going to be addressed in order to be improved in the long term. I know you said increases in terms of things like a weekly AMA and stuff, but like what other actions to be done in order to actually make sure folks are informed of where everything at and where everything is going.
I think I've sort of touched on this before, but we should commit to at least like a weekly AMA where we answer these sorts of questions, and we should be committing to any sort of updates and progress that we have. I think for me, it's not like the lack of communication is like, if we're waiting on stuff and stuff like isn't happening, then there's not really anything to say. But if people would prefer like the weekly updates, like, hey, we're still waiting on this, and it's just kind of repetitive, then I get that, and we can do that. I think for me, I would have thought that it's more demotivational if the people are getting pinged for repeated messages of, hey, we're still waiting on this, that's sort of status of this, and nothing's really happening. Then that's more demotivational. But I can see why increased communication there, even if nothing's happening, would be good. And so I can commit to that.
Yeah, because that can also take place in the captain's log as well, and be a more consistent update there without it necessarily having to be groundbreaking news. So I know you've touched upon it throughout several parts, but how? Okay, the second question is a tricky one to formulate. So effectively, just how we've had some pretty serious setbacks in terms of like getting things like the animation out, getting like our plans with having Rug's team put out more gamified aspects. The merch drop has been a bit delayed as well, and then also just we've had a lack of communication and stuff, and just kind of what the team has to say about that, and like how we're looking to address and deal with those things kind of specifically as a whole, beyond just like the specific components, I guess.
Well, I think I've said as much as I can on this topic. I think the only additional thing I could add is that we're really just trying our best, and we are trying to do what's best for everyone. It's true that I have not paid myself from this project like any sort of salary, and that I have put money into the project, and I have not sold any tokens from the project. So like, in terms of me for like financial motivations, like it would be really great to make this project come to life. And I think the story and the community are fantastic, but like, and I think I've been sort of transparent on my sort of take on this from the beginning, and some of the questions I get are kind of puzzling in that sense.
Okay, so fingers crossed. I got Blaze's question through well. If not, Blaze, you can feel free to yell at me after you watch the recording. But I think most of what Blaze was asking has been throughout the entire AMA. The next question from Dr. Yu is, what are the numbers on the merch? Unsure how it would be sold at a loss.
I mean, each sort of box that we're going to be sending out, I think are averaging around $100, $200 or more. And I don't think it makes sense to be charging people that much.
Then the next.
Hey Nifty, real quick on the boxes. Maybe I've missed it because I'm not as active as everybody else, but you mentioned the box. So is merch? What is it? I guess is it not just a la carte? I want a hoodie. I want a T-shirt. It's like a swag bag type scenario.
Yeah, like everything. You will pay for like the T-shirt, hoodie, whatever, but everything else is kind of like an accessory that just comes with it, like stickers, pins, an icebox, etc.
Got it.
And then Vegan Cheese asks, have you thought about doing more marketing on TikTok for the animations? It seems like there's a huge lack of NFT content there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we should definitely pursue that route once our sort of pilot episode is out, if it makes sense for us to do so.
Okay, and then Bowser's response was, I was referring to marketing. SpacePoggers is out of radar from crypto Twitter. A lot of other projects are still relevant by leveraging social media, influencers, crypto Twitter influencers, etc. I felt such an aversion from you regarding this, but it's obviously working since we still talk about Robotos, Cool Cats, Jungle Freaks, despite their recent issues. Even lesser ones like Atom Bomb Squad and Wanderers all leverage the crypto Twitter. So I guess are we open to using things like influencers looking to use those methods for kind of expanding awareness of SpacePoggers to drive secondary sales and stuff?
Sure, but I feel like a lot of these projects are in a state where they're sort of able to take these bets. For us, it's like we're just paying people to encourage speculation into our project, right?
Yeah, then so then the next question is more of a statement, but from Metaverser. When you have only one team member besides Nifty, it's hard to create engagement inside the community, and that makes the core community less active outside and not active outside of Discord. I offered my help several times and was ignored. And then more about.
Yeah, I don't think it was anyone's intention to explicitly ignore people from our community. But I'm sorry that you felt that way, Metaverser.
Sorry, just checking the other channels for more questions. Additionally, just want to remind everyone here that you can, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, you can also do that as well. And then, so I know you talked about it a little bit, but Metaverse brought up you're not being particularly active on Twitter. And then, so I know you talked about it a little bit, but Metaverse brought up you're not being particularly active on Twitter. And I think you brought up earlier that you're planning on, especially as you're recovering more and more, being more active on there, along with things like more regular updates.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before I was posting, like at least 3 to 5 times a day. I've just been very unwell, unfortunately.
Then, so I know you touched on it a little bit more, but have you thought about finding? Then, so I know you touched on it a little bit more, but Vegan Cheese asked, have you thought about finding an influencer to partner with so that we can get more eyes on the project?
I think I'm not conceptually opposed to working with influencers, right? It's just that almost every person or project that I've talked to do it for, certain reasons or certain things, but it just almost never pans out. If it's the case that say hey, we pay this influencer, 0.5 ETH or whatever, and they promote a project and gets people more buying in, then sure, that's a good thing. Let's always do that. But I've yet to be shown an opportunity or a way that for us to do that makes sense. I'm not opposed to doing anything that's quote, that would be at the end of the day, quote, good for the project.
Yeah. And then let me just. Then Star says, I think Nifty could also look into becoming more of a community just an NFT in general. Like people know Rug is Betty, Pablo, Palm, etc. There's no reason Nifty can't sit with those names. I just got to get it out and shake hands.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but I've talked to people like Farouk, Archik, Andrew directly on several occasions, and been very active on Twitter. like people, like I think despite everything I've said, like barely even being able to, keep in, like, because of the way things are right now in my life and health wise, like barely being able to even keep in contact and constantly engage with friends and family. And then knowing that people are saying like, oh, why have you been so inactive? Why can't you talk more on crypto Twitter? Like, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I feel like people still aren't quite getting it.
Right. I missed this one a little bit back. Pablo Buck said long-term goals are fantastic, but short-term drives engagement. I missed this one a little bit back. Pablo Buck says long-term goals are fantastic, but short-term drives engagement and secondary sales. In between the animation trails and drops, there needs to be a community engagement strategy. So I guess more in line of like what the goals for alongside the animation. Is there anything else that's going to be happening in between to kind of continue to drive community engagement?
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. I do have to run here in a minute on a in real life call, but I just wanted to clarify that I think that Nifty having you focus on the long-term goals of the project, the animation, is what's best for the community. I think we, as a community, need to have some direction, and I'm not saying necessarily from you. Like in the chat, I just proposed that we have some sort of engagement team that is maybe overseen by Roger or you or somebody. But I think that long-term goals are fantastic, and you're doing that. A lot of that's behind the scenes, and that we're waiting for. But the secondary sales, the Discord growing, community growing is done by the short-term goals in between the long-term stops. And so, from my opinion, I think having, like you said, weekly AMAs, some other engagement things on a weekly basis, or even daily basis for that matter. I think we need to have some sort of engagement team solely focused on growing the community, keeping the community active, and that kind of thing. And so I understand your focus is long term, but I think there needs to be a balance there.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this sort of term long term gets thrown out around a lot, but in this context, long term means a month from now on projects that are already sort of in flight and being executed on, just so that's clear to everyone. So when I say I'm focusing on long term, it's like I'm focusing on these really big things for Poggers a month from now. So it's not like a multi-year thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's happening a month from now is a pit stop to the ultimate long-term goal, right? Like this is just one stop on that path, one check mark on the roadmap. What I'm talking about is legitimately like very tactical, short-term planning on solely driving engagement. I think the trailer when it comes out in a month is going to drive a ton of engagement, and that's great. But we're not just going to sit around and be stagnant for a month. And so I think we need to drive the secondary sales. The project needs money, like Meta just said. And so I think that in between the larger long-term drops that you're talking about has to be community engagement on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I would say like people should feel free to bring up these concerns continuously rather than just in like a space like this. Roger engages with people every day as a full-time community manager, and his sort of objective and what he's trying to do and learn from engaging with folks is how to grow the community and how to do stuff on Twitter. I think people have this sort of notion that like nothing happens unless Nifty approves it, which is completely untrue. Like our team members have a lot of autonomy, and our team members have very set objectives.
Yeah, I think it's definitely I think it's more. I think the question and objective was more towards the idea of doing some more kind of short-term specific, implementing more short-term strategies, because I think everyone is pretty clear and vocal with bringing up problems, pretty whenever they have them. So another question from you is, you say the trailer will drive engagement. Didn't we expect the same from the teaser, which didn't really happen? What is different this time?
I don't think it's true that it didn't really happen. It's been pinned to our SpacePoggers account for a while, and when we sort of talk to people and why they joined the community, it's something that they reference a lot, and I think that's sort of like the flagship piece for SpacePoggers so far. But could be completely wrong, and maybe the pilot episode and all the marketing and all the teasers we're dropping before the actual sort of pilot piece comes out doesn't do anything. But that's the bet we're taking.
Yeah, I feel like we had a bump from that, but it has been a dry spell since then. But I think if we have like a larger pool of content or video content to pull from, it could be something that we spice in through the socials that can draw out that bump.
Nifty, do you mind if I step in here for a second?
Yeah, of course.
You were saying you feel like, that's something that people reference. I'm going to be totally honest with you, because I try to kind of lead our shill and finding posts for people to talk about poggers and to, engage with the community. At this point, people aren't even shilling poggers anymore. They're not responding to our community action posts. A lot of times I'm the only person who's commenting, even though if we're tagging 320 people in Discord to come help. So people aren't talking about the trailer. People aren't even willing to talk about the project at this point. And it's really hard to say that. But it's true. And while, yes, having an episode, having a pilot will definitely get people buzzing, unless there is consistent action that continues and follows that, it really isn't going to do much other than make people disappointed a week later when there's nothing more to celebrate. And so as a community, I think the reason that marketing keeps coming up is because we tried and we shilled and we did everything in our will possible. I get made fun of by Papa Bucks' friends for as much as I talk about SpacePoggers. But at this point, most of the community, the majority of the community, has stopped engaging in those types of raids and opportunities. And so I think that that's something that I'm not sure you're aware of, because you have been ill and haven't been able to see that, but people don't talk about the trailer anymore. People really aren't talking about this at all anymore. And I don't mean that to be disheartening. I want it to be an eye-opener in how much room we have to grow and to build back at this time.
Thanks, Bucks. Now, I completely see where you're coming from, but when people say, like, we want more marketing, right? When other projects sort of talk about what's going on, they talk about, like, the sort of projects within their ecosystem that they're executing on. And for SpacePoggers, that's animation. So let's say that we don't do animations, we don't care about it. When people ask for marketing, what are they really asking for? Would sort of be my question, because I feel like I get this request all the time. I don't really see it. The only clear answer that I've seen from the community is that we want to pay influencers to show our project for us to get that social validation. And we can do that. And it might even be a good thing, but what do people expect out of it? Like people are saying we should pay these people to say SpacePoggers is a good project and more people will buy in and our community will be better and this floor price will go up, encouraging speculation. I haven't really seen anything substantial that people are asking for the marketing side. And if the animation and sort of core vision behind the project doesn't pan out, then it's just an unsuccessful project at the end of the day, right? And so I'm really open to all suggestions there, but if people just keep throwing, hey, we need more engagement, we just need more marketing, then it just feels like a very abstract kind of band-aid that people throw around as a term to fix all of our problems magically.
And I don't sense it that people are saying, yes, I've heard people say, and even in this talk, like, why aren't we paying influencers? I think we have to look at what the underlying message is. And what's really happening underneath that question is that people are saying, I'm scared and I'm fearful because this is something that I love and believe in, and there aren't any eyes on it. I don't think people are necessarily saying we need an influencer. They're saying we have to find a way to gain traction and to get eyes on this project. And so it's not, I think people are actually suggesting, an opportunity when really the call, it's a cry for help. It's a cry for, we know what this can be. We don't want this project to end. We need to find a way that keeps people interested and keeps our name relevant. And I think that influencers are being offered because that's just one of the ways that particular thing could possibly be done. Does that make sense?
No, of course.
So I think really what is truly being asked is, how can we stay relevant? Because we haven't been, and we all know that the animation is coming and we're all excited for the animation to coming, but kind of to piggyback on Papa Bucks, without something, and I'm not saying airdrops or anything, but without something a little bit to feed us every few days, every week, even if that is news. And I know you said you feel like it's kind of like beating a dead horse to just say, hey guys, we're still waiting on this, but we would love that. We would love to know that there's still things going on, even if it's not progressing. We want to know that it's still in the works. And so I think really what needs to be understood here is a cry for help. And I'm not sure if you've been staying up with the flight deck. I hadn't been because I had been typing notes. So guys, sorry, I kind of stopped taking notes here a little bit ago. But the kind of the general consensus is we're fine putting the big things, and I know you don't want to hear that, but like if we have to put the animation on hold to make sure that our tokens survive, then that's what we want. We want to be relevant. We want to be a name. Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, a phone call came in, so it kind of interrupted. We want to make sure, above all, that this project continues. And so I think what people are really saying underneath their words is, we're scared and we need you to lead us and be concrete in your decisions and your actions and your words, and you need to consistently communicate with us, which we've been asking for since August. Consistent communication and telling us where we're going. And I think people are throwing out suggestions for how we might to do that, but I don't think the real answer is we need to hire an influencer. It's we need to be led with confidence and consistency.
Yeah, thank you, Mama Bucks.
All right. Bowser Daddy points out Esther's comment of sharing a screenshot of the animation being worked on CryptoTweet every day. I think that's definitely in the works and the plans, and getting significantly more content around the animation as it's developed is something that's going to be really, really great and something to definitely look forward to in terms of something that's very actionable that we can start doing. Then all right, just going through trying to grab more questions. All right, Reddit Whales asks, I don't know if this was brought up, but what is tribe wars still a thing?
I would say it's far from the main priority right now.
Could it be a low priority?
And then you ask, is the website update still a thing?
Yeah, definitely. We need to update our roadmap.
So there's much more discussion happening. I am trying to pull ideas from pull questions from it. If folks want to also raise their hands and ask questions in here, they can also do that as well. I suppose one thing just to pull from the general sentiment is what can be, what are some ideas in regards to that short term to kind of keep things going and where we're looking to act in that direction, since it is a lot of discussion around that question of what, while we're leading up to the actual release of the animation, where we're at in terms of actually attacking those short-term things to keep interest and reignite interest.
Hello?
Oh,
Hey.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, you got cut out. Completely missed the question.
Yeah, I was more saying, like, in terms of where the kind of conversation is in terms of handling like that short-term thing where our current like stances and ideas. There are some more questions that have kind of come through, and also Peeved Pets has raised his hand, so what I was saying can wait just a moment.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Just wanted to, I know that you haven't been feeling well, Nifty, and I know that's got to be very tough, especially when you have a lot of people, having high expectations and their money's involved and all that. But I don't know whether it's just that you're not feeling well, or overwhelmed or what, but it just sounds like you lack enthusiasm for this project in your tone, and I'm wondering, do you still believe in it? And is it just that you're not feeling well, or do you feel like you're just over this Sorry to be so blunt, but that's sort of the impression I'm getting.
No, I think that's a completely valid question, and it's not about losing passion for the project. I think when you're in a position of having a lot of sort of personal and health issues, and having to go through like repeat surgeries and such, I think you gain some perspective on life, and you want to try to use your energy to best work on the things that are important to you. And then so when it comes to stuff like marketing and outreach and talking to a ton of people, like even if I try my best, it can come off as like maybe I don't care enough, maybe I'm not, working hard enough or whatever. And if people feel that this project isn't going the way where it wants it, or they see it going, and then people would rather see someone else at the helm, like, despite the amount of money I've spent on this project and despite like the time I've spent building it, then if the community wants someone else to be leading the project, then like that is like an okay outcome as well, as long as it's better for everyone. But for me personally, like I am doing my best with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I understand. I guess my question is that what you would want? Are you happy being involved in the project, or do you feel like it's not exciting anymore? I'm just trying to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but are you having fun and enjoying it? Just, I know you're ill and everything, and I know that puts a damper on things, but do you feel like you still have the original enthusiasm that you once had? And if not, how can we get that back for you or for all of us? I know that's kind of the big question we've all been asking here, but as a community, I know that I shill, but I could do more.
Mm-hmm.
But I just need more to shill. I need just more, as Mama Bear was saying, I just need more ammunition, and maybe we have contests within the community to come up with memes where we can all have fun with it, maybe win a little prize or something, and have more traction in the shilling department until we get to that more long-term vision that you see for the project, and that makes you feel passionate. I don't know if that makes sense, but just wondering how you feel about that.
No, I think what you're saying makes sense, and I see where the concerns are coming from. I think what I was sort of mentioning before is like not so much my willingness to give up, but like almost acknowledgement for myself and for the community. Like I understand that I'm not in like the ideal place, or I may not be like even like the ideal person to be doing the things I'm doing right now. Like obviously having someone in better health with more time and energy and being really excited about marketing and like talking to all these people, maybe that's the sort of person that the project needs right now. And of course, like the things that have happened to setback are demotivational, but I think the sort of core idea behind why the project was created, it still remains.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your honest feedback.
Thank you for your question.
There's been a few suggestions at the idea of I don't know, bringing someone in, and well, I guess just touching on that of the idea of leadership change and stuff, in terms of like bringing in someone to do a lot more marketing, as that was already kind of done by as I was already supposed to be done by Rug initially. Whether or not, I don't know, the idea of either bumping someone up from within the community to start looking into doing that, or going outside, maybe not hiring an entire team, would be the best way to kind of pull the idea from that question.
may I jump in? Because now that I'm looking at Flight Deck, I see a lot of people talking about me. And so I want to, if it's okay to kind of put my thought into this.
Yep.
So Nifty, I don't think any of us want you to leave. None of us want you to step down. I don't think that is the general consensus. We all joined this project with you at the helm of it because we liked your vision. Gary Vee and Matt Kalish liked your vision. That's not what's being asked. I think what is kind of being asked or being said is that you working on the long term is absolutely needed. And if the animation is where the community wants this to go and where the project is headed, that you need to continue to be at the front of that because you're the person who's already got it spinning. I wouldn't know. I don't know if anybody in this project would really know where to go in that purpose. I think what people are saying is that if you continue to work on the long term, there needs to be some sort of a short term, daily, weekly push and motivation and engagement going on that right now you are unable to give because you are unwell and because you are focused on the bigger project. So I don't want you to feel like, we're out here with our pitchforks and torches saying, get the hell out. I don't think that's what anybody is saying. I think we just wanted a clear understanding of what is happening. And really what's needed is just someone or something that is absolutely kind of focused on the short term engagement while you continue to work on the long term. And it doesn't even necessarily, people were saying in here, that I have volunteered and I have. I'm not even asking for money. I just want to know, how can I help? Where's the information that I can pass on and spin into a marketing ploy or a meme or a game or something? And so I'm not necessarily volunteering myself right now. I just kind of wanted to address that a couple people have brought up my name in there. That this isn't people saying, get going. This is saying we need clear, consistent communication. We would love a more concrete roadmap that says, expect by end of December this, expect by end of February this is what we're planning on in May. You focus on that and give us some information and some feedback on what we can kind of have and play with now in the short term to get engagement and eyes on the project right now. Hopefully I said that correctly, everybody. Thank you again for letting me speak. I'm sorry that I'm taking over this.
That's fine. I totally understand and I'm in agreement with that. I think we, after this call, we may regroup and see if those things can be implemented and how quickly.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, Mama. It's not that I feel like I'm hated and that people want me out. It's more that I feel that with where I'm at right now and with everything that's happened, I'm trying my best. And people are asking for more and more and more. And I will try to delegate and get the right people in place to do these things. But at the end of the day, I'm just really stretched thin right now. And if people want more and they're unable to get it out of me, then maybe they can get out of someone else, was my suggestion. And it's not that I want to leave and I want to just leave the project to someone else. It's more that I think I've said all I'm able to say there.
Also, I just wanted to say, in New York, it's not like Nifty and Nate aren't well-known people. Anywhere I went, if I had people coming up to me talking about, Nate signed this for me. I mean, apes, CryptoPunks, you can say NiftyWhale's name, people are going to know you. So it's not like people want you to step down from this, or that we don't want you to be the leader. I mean, you have this platform, this very large platform that you've built, that people know who you are, they know what you represent, they respect you, they value your work ethic. It's just, I think, I don't ever see, I see a lot of these, not even influencers, just these leaders in the NFT part, and they're all doing all these crazy big things, talking with each other, interacting with each other, joining these DAOs together. I mean, I think you could benefit from a lot of that, especially with the platform you have. I don't know if you're in them. I don't know everything that you're personally doing, but I have never personally seen you kind of interacting with those other communities.
Yeah, I have started, just definitely not lately.
I think. Well, I do not want to cut things short because there may still be a lot of questions. I think there's a lot to mull over and to figure out because a lot has been discussed. So I just want to make sure that if people do have more questions or if they just want to continue the discussion, let's just kind of keep that in mind. Otherwise, that way, if it looks like it's not going to be too much more kind of future discussion or kind of continued discussion, then as a team we can regroup and talk about things because there's been an incredible amount discussed so far.
Yeah, I think we got, unless there's like a very different new question out there. I think we got we made some movement today. And I think yeah, like you said, lots to talk about within.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's been incredibly helpful. It's been a very, I don't know, it's been a bit of an overdue conversation that has been very much important to have. So I'm glad that we've had that because it will allow us to go over everything a lot more and actually go about making some pivots and changes that will need to be made to make sure that Poggers stays alive and kicking very strongly.
Yeah, thanks for your time, everyone.
All right. I do not want to cut anything off shortly. So if there are any last minute questions, bring them in. But I think it's a good wrapping up point so that we can start moving on next steps and getting things back on track. Thank you, everyone. Thanks everyone for your questions and for not holding back.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks everyone for your questions and for not holding back because it's important that we're super clear and upfront and are able to actually deal with the problems at hand. So we will talk to you all soon, and well, starting every week with AMAs and stuff will be a fantastic point, especially everyone saying that this should be the turning point for Poggers. I think increased communication and working on the things discussed today is a really good start in making sure that things are able to turn around. So thank you everyone for coming in. Just so that no one is confused when you all get booted out of the space, I'm just going to end it now. But if you wanted to keep talking, keep discussing things, there's always the Discord, and we'll be there. We'll be there.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Get better, Nifty. I hope you feel better, man.